Welcome to Pivot to Profit, the podcast where personal growth meets business strategy. And I'm your host, TaVia Wooley. I'm so excited to be launching this podcast. If you're familiar with any of my content, whether it's been one of my old YouTube videos or my Instagram, or you actually know me in real life, you're probably wondering, how is this different than any of my previous podcasts? And if you're new here, you're probably like, what are you talking about, TaVia? Well, just take a seat. I have some stories to share with you. I'm not new to podcasting. I've been podcasting since 2018. I've had about 3 different shows, and since then, I've helped countless community members host and produce their own podcasts. I kind of know some things about podcasting because, well, I've done it myself. My first podcast was called Talks with Tav, and what I did was I interviewed businesswomen throughout the world. Sometimes they were local and in my home, yes, in my home, and then sometimes they were virtual in places like Singapore, Trinidad and Tobago, and Canada. It was an amazing opportunity to interview female business owners throughout the world to see how they engaged in business, to support and empower them, and to teach other up and coming entrepreneurs what works in business. From there, I morphed into the Empower Her movement. I was intrigued by the stories of these female entrepreneurs, what it really took to overcome challenges in order to be successful in their business. See, our society loves an overnight success, but the truth of the matter is, nothing is overnight about it. We just see the shiny new thing at the end, but most overnight successes actually take about 10 years. And so it was really great to interview these women who had achieved success in their business to learn what did they really need to do in order to get to that level of success. From the Empower Her movement, I then transitioned into the Black Girl's Guide to the Pivot, and that was launched at the beginning of the pandemic. Now, that was very much intentional. Because when I saw the pandemic unfold, like many of us did, not only did I have my, initial concerns of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to the world and us and, this disease and what have you, but I also recognized that this was going to be an area of opportunity that most people were going to overlook because of the fear and the challenges that the media were presenting on. So what I did was I asked a few of my good friends who had certain areas of expertise that I thought would be amazing qualities and skills that Black women as a whole could learn from. And so I launched the Black Girl's Guide to the Pivot. It was a weekly podcast where I co-hosted with my friends, and we talked about specific issues that were pertinent to Black women and how to pivot during this very difficult time. We also had an online community of about 500 Black women. We had weekly lives. We had a virtual summit. We had an amazing time, and I am forever grateful for those friends who joined me on that journey. After the Black Girl's Guide to the Pivot, I took a break because I felt like I couldn't keep showing up talking about pivoting and facing challenges without also addressing my own unique challenges in my life. So I took a break from podcasting, but I did not take a break from podcasting as a whole. As I continued to focus on my personal life and refinement and learning about myself and all the things that I was experiencing at that time, I decided to double down on how to teach people about podcasting, understanding what podcasting could do for not only business owners, but community leaders, thought leaders, anyone who had something to say. QN, Andre 3000, the South got something to say. So I started to develop frameworks and curriculum on how to teach community members how to launch a podcast. Now let's fast forward a little bit, right? In 2021, I founded the nonprofit Empower Them Collective. Sounds kind of familiar, right? Empower Her Movement, Empower Them Collective. Listen, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother episode. How sometimes pivoting doesn't mean we give up on the original goal. We just evolve with it. So anyways, I founded the nonprofit, and our sole purpose was to be a systems change organization where we teach community members how to do the thing, the skills needed to shift the narrative, to challenge the status quo, and to make their lives better for themselves and those around them. One of our anchor programs is podcasting. So see how all that comes back around. Fast forward a few more years, we then launched the 661 Creator Space. Actually, we launched it just last year, 2025. And the 661 Creator Space is a physical location. It's a content creation studio and lab, as well as an event space. And so we support community members with literally learning the mechanics, the logistics, the storytelling of podcasting, YouTubing, holding small events, becoming a thought leader, developing their business skills. Remember, sometimes we do take downtime to refine and get better at what we do. So here I am back years later from my initial podcasting talks with Tav, from Empower Her Movement to the Black Girl's Guide to the Pivot to now Pivot to Profit, where personal growth meets business strategy. What has changed? In those last 6 years, now we're up to 6 years, I've learned and I've watched and observed a lot of people, community members, professionals, business owners. And there's one thing that I started to see become a gap. We are all chasing success, right? We're chasing the thing that whether it's money, opportunities, resources, experiences, status, titles, whatever it is. But we don't spend enough time talking about the personal growth that has to occur in order to achieve the thing. And the thing is whatever it is you want. Personal growth is essential to business strategy. You will have to become a more refined and better version of yourself in order to obtain all the things that you want. Now, things might sound superficial, right? But I have a thing, especially coming from a community perspective background. I believe money is essential, not the love of money, okay? Money is essential in our community. People need to have those type of resources in order to secure housing, provide for their children, do all the things necessary, right? So it is better that we start to teach people how to be successful and to obtain that resource known as money. And that begins with personal growth. So that is how this podcast was launched. I want to help people make the connection between personal growth and business strategy because they truly go hand in hand. So now that you know what this podcast is, where I've been and where I'm going and what my hope is, I want to share a little bit with you about what my professional background has looked like and why I might know a thing or two about personal growth and working with people and developing those business strategies to help you achieve the thing. So I have 20 plus years. Oh, excuse me, because I did get older. I have 20 plus years of professional experience. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree, psychology and leadership development. Like they're kind of, I don't know. But anyways, so let me tell you a little bit about myself, where my professional background lies and how I got to this point. Now, for the better part of my 20 plus years, 20 years has been spent working in the community with community members. I once worked in probation with youth individuals who were detained. I worked in child protective services, families who might have come in contact with child protective services. I've also worked in drug and alcohol for youth. I've worked in mental health. I've worked in housing. I've worked in all the arenas. I've also worked in public relations and communications and policies and politics and all of those things. Combine those things with my own lived experience of being a single mom at 20, coming from a single mother, having a brother who's on an autism spectrum, to growing up in poverty, growing up in the hood, whatever that looks like for you. All of that combined has brought me to this point. No matter if you're a business owner, a professional, you work in corporate America, you work in nonprofit, no matter what, we deal with people. And the sooner we can understand and bring back the humanity in the work and in our professions and in our business, the sooner we could start seeing the type of success we want to see. So here's really like the nuts and bolts of it all. We focus on business strategies such as make the five sales calls today to make the sale, right? But the truth of the matter is if you don't know how to interact and engage with people, if you're not comfortable with interacting and engaging with people, it doesn't matter how many sales calls you make, you're not going to necessarily see the results because sales in particular, as an example, requires you to understand the other person needs. And then you need to position yourself as the solution for those needs. And in order to be able to do any of that, you have to be a person who can reflect, active listening, mirror behaviors, and listen intently to what their specific needs are. So that's why I say personal growth meets business strategy. You can't get the business strategy where you want it to go if you don't first work on yourself. So now that you have that understanding, what is this podcast about? This podcast is all about personal growth, business strategy combined. So some episodes may deeply reflect on what is needed for personal growth and evolution and overcoming your challenges. And sometimes it might be just focused strictly on strategy, and sometimes they're going to be married. They're going to be both. Okay. So that's what you can expect. A little bit of personal growth, business strategy, personal stories, stories of other people and other professionals, as well as people you know that we all admire and aspire to be. This podcast is for anyone who is ready to go to the next level and they have yet to hit that tipping point. Tipping point, are you a fan of Malcolm Gladwell? Then you know what tipping point is. So the goal of this podcast is for anyone who's ready to hit that tipping point and beyond. And just in case you're not sure if this is meant for you, if you are a professional, this podcast is meant for you. If you're an up-and-coming leader, this podcast is meant for you. If you're a student, this podcast is meant for you. If you are a seasoned professional, you need to pivot in your career, this podcast is meant for you. Simply put, this podcast is meant for everyone. And I do mean everyone. Okay? So make sure you share with your family and friends. Okay? Got it. I think before I wrap up this particular episode, I think I want to focus on the lessons that really shaped me. Every time I have exponentially grown, or a quantum leap, for those who are familiar with that, I can attribute my quantum leap to my personal development. I learned better time management skills, which then I can manage and handle my responsibilities a lot better. I learned how to communicate so that my needs were met. And so those communication skills then translated into being able to navigate job interviews and communicate my value to those who are interviewing me. In addition, I learned about money management and how to better save my money. But I also, before I could even get to that point, I also have to recognize what my issues were with money. See, I didn't come from money. I come from poverty. And so there was this internal battle associated with money. Like I wanted it, but I wasn't doing a really good job at maybe managing it or saving it. And so sometimes in order to get where we want to go, we have to address those root causes, the things that we don't talk about in business because it's considered taboo, because everything has to be corporate. We're going to combine all the things, okay? Because it's not just about presenting a certain way. It's about becoming who you need to be in order to go where you want to go. When I started to double down on my own growth, I saw my career take off. I made more money. I started to live the life I wanted to live. I started to settle into my own authenticity. When you focus on your own personal growth, you become more authentic. When you become more authentic, the business strategies hit even better and your success grows exponentially. Yep, I said it. Focusing on your personal growth builds your own authenticity. You settle into that and you see exponential business growth. People want to work with you, do business with you, buy whatever you have to offer because you show up as a relatable human being who's knowledgeable and credible. And that's what this podcast's sole purpose is, to build your personal development curriculum, to meet it with business strategy so that you can design a life that you want to live that's rooted in authenticity. So if any of that sounds good to you, then you can expect more of that. Most days it'll be just a solo episode where you'll just be hearing from me, and sometimes I will have a special guest, but nonetheless, you will always get a lesson. You will always be encouraged to grow, to feel empowered, to do more, to be more, and to take up more space. If any of that sounds like something you want to do, then subscribe to this. Let's get going. Let's grow together. Thank you for tuning in. Pivot to Profit, the podcast where personal growth meets business strategy. And I'm looking forward to helping you grow in your own authenticity, skills, strengths, and talents. Make sure you come back.